what I want to do is take a few moments to just kind of show you some quick tricks to this type of problem. So you went and pulled down some files. That makes sense, straightforward. And if you take a look up on the screen, I'll show you how to quickly make this work to your benefit. So in essence, you've got the scan. And by the way, this little browser, object browser, pops up typically when you start pulling stuff in. And it shows you that you currently have a couple different files on there, which is fine. We've appended them to the file. So, by the way, if you don't like this printer bed showing up, you can go up to View and turn off the printer bed, get it out of your way. But real quickly, you see that I got the wings right there. And to make those wings the right size, what tool do I need to use? Transform. You hit it, you scale them up, you grab some arrows, you scale them up a little bit more. And with Mesh Mixer, like most modeling programs, it's all about orbiting stuff around and getting in the right location and moving things to where they work for you. So you'll see me kind of do this little number right here. I'm shifting the wings around a bit until I get them oriented the way that I want them to be, which sometimes can be quite challenging, as you have found out, definitely. Keep in mind you're dealing with something that is it is like clay, so it doesn't behave exactly like we want it to sometimes. But anyway, there we go, I get the wings positioned. I hit accept and it's done. And I got them the size that I kind of want them. And I've made sure that they are embedded into the original scan. Now I add a quick cylinder, not too much of a problem. Hit this, go grab a cylinder, drag it into the space. It is way too large, but I can quickly change that by scaling it down in size. And I can just scale it down in height alone. Position it. Pull it down a little bit. Move it back this way a little bit. If you end up not having it just perfectly below the piece, that's okay. Key thing is just to have some kind of little platform for her to stand on. So if you override the other one, that's fine too. No big deal. Anyway, and that's one of the things we found out when printing. Sometimes you have to make sure you have a base. So I've got that. And then we need to add in some initials. So I can go pull in some letters if I want to. Real fast, some primitives here. Let's go letters. Now I'll just choose E right now to be simple. And size it. I might extrude it a little bit more this way. Reduce it down this way. Pull it in, reduce it down. And I keep getting it to where I want to. Keep in mind, when you click on a box, you are actually scaling. When you click on an arrow, you are actually moving. You're translating in a certain orbital plane. So get it positioned, still too big, so I size it down just a wee bit more to work for me. And I keep moving things around until I get it positioned. A lot of orbiting, a lot of turning, and there the E's in place. It just takes a lot of time and effort. Now, I won't bother doing the other two initials. Yep, go ahead.
So I went to 123 Design.
Yep.
And just made like a little plate. Can I do it that way?
Yep, absolutely. You could actually...
Against the rules? Or...
No, the key thing is that you have a way to create it. If you actually, that works out for your benefit, because from then on you have an STL file. If you go make them separately, you could always import them into any STL and have them ready to go. So that can save you some time. It's just whatever your preference is. Now the only catch is sometimes you got to make sure it orients it just right, but otherwise you're good to go. So anyway, there it is. I'll assume that if you can do one letter, you can do them all. But the key thing right now is, at this point in time, all four of these files are separate files. Even though they're in this Mesh Mixer file, if I want to hit print and I only export right now, it's only going to get one of them. So what would happen, and this happens a lot of times when folks start off, is they'll send me a file, they won't check it, and I'll get an STL file with just an E floating off in space. It's kind of hard to print that, I'll be honest with you. Or a set of wings that are like, 60 millimeters up in the air, just floating there. Because it's always important that you check afterwards. But here's how you combine everything. If you watch this, the object browser pops up when you bring stuff in. If it doesn't, you can go to View and turn on the object browser. It makes it real easy to hold down the control key and select each one of these files. Once it's held down and they're selected, see the word combine? That's what puts everything into one file. You hit combine, and it's done. The whole thing becomes one, and now I can do what to get this file out to print? What is my last step? Got to export. Now, here's where people make some mistakes. They think a mesh mixer file is a STL file because it looks the same. It's not. A mesh mixer file is like a Word file. You can bring pictures into a Word file, but it's still a Word file. STLs are like the pictures, and the mesh mixer is the Word file. What we want is the STL file, so your last and final step must be file, export, and then save it as you want to. I'll just call it, it really does not. Not for this level of operations, it does not. So anyway, it does the process, and it's going to go through it. The last thing you have to do is you need to double check. I get too many files where folks where they won't check their work, they'll just grab it, attach it to the email, and turn it in. So let me go check to be sure everything works. There's the example. I'm going to just open her up. It may show up in some other program. It may show up in Mesh Mixer. It may show up in like one of the desktop programs. Doesn't matter too much. And I look at it, and there she is. There's the STL. So that's what I can turn in. Now, if you save your creation here, it's going to be a mix file. That's great. Save it for your records. That's cool. Take your screen capture. That's cool. But that's the actual process to get this printed. Don't forget the combine, and don't forget the check at the end. All right, let's go ahead.
Is there a way just to save the mesh mixer to JPEG so you don't have to screen capture?
That's a good question. Is there an output? There probably is a process for that. There may be. I don't know. I've never really researched it. Typically, with the screen capture is just a quick and fast, and that's why we go with it. Other questions? Anything about that process you want to see again or me to show you separately? It really is a lot of orbiting around, a little bit of transforming, grabbing things, scaling them, moving them to get it just right. But don't forget that combine at the end. That's what makes or breaks the final file. And that in the exporting. All right.